kind of weird, but arguably the biggest new feature in iOS 26.3 involves Android. Let me explain. So iOS 26.3 is here, and let's talk about it, the transfer to Android functionality. This is something that Apple and Google actually worked together as a joint collaboration to make it easier to switch between iPhone and Androids. So the whole point of this is to make it easier to switch between the platforms. So an iPhone user being able to quickly switch to Android, or an Android user being able to quickly switch over to iOS and the iPhone. Now, Google has already on its end started to roll out this feature with recent Android Canary builds for the Pixel, so that will allow Android users to move to iPhone. And with iOS 26.3, Apple has introduced transfer to Android. So all you do is go to Settings, General, and then you'll see Transfer or Reset iPhone. You just tap on there. And then you'll see the normal options, reset, erase all content and settings, but you'll now see this setting here, transfer to Android. And that is how you initiate the whole process, assuming you have an Android phone running the latest version of its software with this feature enabled. So when you tap on that, you're going to see the instructions, place your devices next to each other. You place your Android device next to the iPhone. It gets connected over that high bandwidth network. Once you're connected, you can choose what you want to transfer, such as photos, messages, apps, and more, even your phone number. Thing is, health data and devices paired with Bluetooth, protected items, things like that are not available for transfer. And you want to make sure you're on the latest software, that Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are both on, and then go from there. And Apple and Google says that more data types will be added to the transfer feature as they continue to test it and continue to build it out. Now, this feature is actually built on top of one of the new EU mandated features that's included with this build. This EU mandated feature, a new high bandwidth Wi-Fi connection for peer-to-peer use, is what is powering this new transfer to Android feature. So it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out, whether we'll be able to take advantage of this high bandwidth Wi-Fi connectivity in other areas as well. Now, although transfer to Android is available in the US, some of the other EU mandated features are exclusively available in the EU. For instance, there's a new proximity pairing, similar to how the AirPods proximity pair with an iPhone just by putting it near your iPhone. Well, that is now opened up to third parties in the EU. So a third party manufacturer could make some device and give it the ability to proximity pair, similar to how the AirPods currently, and the AirTag for that matter, proximity pair with the iPhone. And Apple is also rolling out a new notification forwarding feature for EU users. This is again a mandated change that will allow third-party devices to receive notifications from the iPhone, similar to how your Apple Watch works today, how it receives notifications. Here's the thing though, if you enable this notification forwarding feature, Apple says it only works with one device at a time, so you're not going to be able to actually get your notifications on your Apple Watch if you're using a third-party device and receiving notifications to it. This feature is built on a new accessory notifications public framework, and I'm sure third parties are chomping at the bit for the ability to receive these notifications. It's going to open up a lot more possibilities for these third-party devices and put them more on an even playing ground with things like the Apple Watch. Now, one caveat of notification forwarding from a privacy perspective is that this will reveal information to these third parties that currently even Apple can't access. So it's just interesting to see how Apple being forced to open up their platform, how that balances out with the whole privacy aspect. Now, speaking of privacy, Apple's also rolling out a new limit precise location feature for cellular networks. So this would limit the amount of data that cellular networks can access to be able to pinpoint your exact location. They're still going to be able to have a proximity of where you are, but this will prevent more pinpointed access to your location. The only downside is this can only be enabled for certain carriers. In the United States, it's Boost Mobile only, and it only works with Apple's modem. So if you're using an iPhone 16e with the Apple C1 modem, you have the option there. Or if you're using the iPhone Air with the C1X, or the or the iPad with the Wi-Fi and cellular, the M5 iPad, that has the C1X modem as well. And you'll be able to have that feature on those devices, assuming you're using a compatible carrier like Boost Mobile in the US. And then finally, there are some minor tweaks to the wallpaper configuration. So the astronomy and weather have been broken out into their own respective sections now. So you have all the astronomy on one line and then the weather above that. And the weather gets a couple of new configurations, default configurations that you can customize with the various widgets and whatnot as well. So again, iOS 26.3, it's not anything that's going to knock your socks off by any stretch of the imagination, but it does sort of paint a picture of what's to come, especially when looking at all the EU mandated features as well. You have that new transfer to Android feature, which is interesting on how that uses the new high bandwidth Wi-Fi connectivity. And 26.3 is most exciting because that means we're one step closer to the release of the 26.4 beta, which is going to bring some really big changes to Siri with its new Gemini incorporation. So what do you guys think about 26.3? Let me know down below in the comments. This is Jeff with 9 to 5 Mac.